Guardians of the Jed Stone. Return of the Dragon Queen. By M. L. Pazzini. Book 3 of the Guardians of the Jed Stone Trilogy. Chapter 1. The sky tears open. The sky tore open. A tear of red gold light ripped across the clouds above Cairo. And out of the opened rift burst a dragon. Vast. Armored in living flame. Its wings beating thunder into the air. Tourists screamed and scattered. Cars screeched to a halt. Pyramids of ancient stone stood silent witness as myth came roaring back into the world. Upon the dragon's back stood Liam. No longer was he the confused man searching for himself. Only half awake. Now his eyes burned with the fire of kings. The dragon crystal pulsed in his palm like a living star, answering the crown of flame swirling around him. When he spoke, his voice rolled like distant thunder. Zara, quote. Zara spun just as the dragon descended. Wind and heat exploding around her. Andrew shielded his face. The Jed Stone burning beneath his chest as the shockwave tore at his clothes. Liam, Zara cried. Hope and heartbreak tangled in a single breath. He reached for her. The dragon swept lower, talons scraping the stone, and in one fluid motion Liam leaned down, wrapped his arm around Zara's waist, and lifted her into the air. Andrew lunged forward. Zara, quote. Their fingers brushed. For a heartbeat, she was still there, still his, still the girl who had stood beside him beneath the stone mountain and laughed with him under the Cairo sun. Then the dragon surged upward and she was gone. The sky burned. A rift of fire spiraled open ahead of them. A doorway of molten light that led not to space or stars, but to another realm entirely. The Serpent Realm. Liam turned once, his eyes meeting Andrew's. There was no hatred there. Only sorrow. Only destiny. Then he spoke the words that unmade the air. Open the rift. Mighty staff of Ra, quote. The dragon crystal blazed, and the rift widened, flame tearing a wound in the sky. The dragon dove into it, vanishing in a storm of light and ash. And at that same instant, Master Seto raised his hand. His voice was calm, ancient, unyielding. Staff of Ra, return to your master. The air shook. Somewhere beyond the burning sky, the staff heard its master, and obeyed. It ripped itself from Liam's grip mid-rift, spinning through the fire like a golden comet, and snapped into Seto's hand with a thunderclap of light. The rift closed. The sky went silent, and Zara was gone. Andrew fell to his knees. The Jed Stone pounded beneath his ribs, aching like a broken heart. The world swayed around him. For a moment he couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only feel the echo of her fingers slipping from his. Seto lowered the staff, his face lined with grief and something deeper. Destiny. He has taken her home, the old guardian whispered, to the realm of serpents and fire. Liam, their friend, their brother, now the Dragon Master, and Zara. Zara now walked toward a throne that had always been hers, and never known. Andrew bowed his head, fists trembling. I'm going after them. Seto closed his eyes. So we shall, he said. But the path ahead passes through places where living souls should not walk. The air chilled, the light dimmed, and far beyond the worlds of men, something in the void began to stir. Chapter 2. The place no soul should walk. The air still trembled from the closing rift. Ash drifted slowly to the ground where Zara had stood only moments before. Andrew stared at the empty sky, his chest burning with a hollow ache the Jed Stone could not ease. We have to go after them, he said, his voice raw. Now. Seto closed his fingers around the staff of Ra, the gold still warm from its violent return across realms. His eyes were distant, listening, measuring the threads of fate. And so we shall, he murmured. But the path has shifted. What does that mean? Quote, Andrew's voice cracked. Liam wasn't here to say it with a joke. So there was no one to hide behind humor. It was just Andrew. And the grief. And the silence. Seto turned toward the desert wind. There are cracks between worlds, he said softly. Old wounds. Forgotten scars. The Jed Stone opens clean passages. The dragon crystal tears them. And when two rifts open so close together. Quote, he tapped the staff once against the stone. Quote, something else sometimes opens its eyes. A chill passed through Andrew. Wrong and ancient. The hair on his arms prickled. Open the way, he said anyway. Please. Seto nodded. He lifted the staff of Ra in one hand, the scepter of Isis in the other, and began to speak in a language older than stone. The sky split, but the tear was wrong. Not flame, not light, black, not the black of night, but the black of absence. A wound that drank sound. A darkness that moved like smoke but cast no shadow. Andrew felt it pulling, not at his body, but at his self. The Jed Stone flared in his chest, instinctively resisting. Seto's face tightened. This is not the serpent realm, he said. This is the void between. A place where no living soul should venture. His voice dropped to a whisper. Before the first light shattered the silence. Before creation drew breath, there was the void, not living, not breathing. He is the one who would reverse creation. He is Nulgar, Lord of the Void. He was not created. He was not born. He simply was. And all he has ever wanted is for creation to end. The darkness surged. The world vanished. Andrew fell, not down, inward. Chapter 3. The Void. There was no sky, no ground, just endless gray on black mist drifting like breath on a mirror. And echoes. Distant whispers that didn't sound like voices so much as memories trying to forget themselves. Andrew stood on nothing, yet did not fall. Seto appeared beside him, calm, but his eyes were sharper now. Alert. You must not listen to them, he said quietly. Listen to what? Quote, the whispers grew. Andrew, you failed. You let her go. You always do. They sounded like him. His own thoughts thrown back at him from a throat he did not own. Andrew staggered. That's not real. No, Seto said gently. But the void is very good at pretending to be. Shapes formed in the mist ahead. At first they were only silhouettes. Then they copied. His shoulders. His hands. His face. Hundreds of shadow Andrews stepped out of the dark. Eyes hollow. Rib thin. Movements jerking like puppets floating underwater. Their mouths opened. And every one of them whispered. You were too slow. The Jed Stone pulsed. Hard. Like a heart screaming. Andrew clenched his fists. Get out of my head. The shadows only smiled. Behind them more shapes stretched upward. Tall, thin figures with arms too long and joints bending the wrong way. Their bodies weren't solid. They rippled, like reflections on black glass interrupted by hands reaching from beneath. Voidborn. Seto lifted the staff of Ra. They were once things, he said softly. Men. Beasts. Dreams. Whatever wanders here too long forgets what it was. And becomes what the void wants instead. The nearest creature moved. Not walking but unfolding forward. Its head tilting toward Andrew as though testing the taste of him. Seto raised the staff. Golden light roared from the tip. The void screamed. The shadows burned like paper. Stay close, Seto said. Do not doubt, not even for a heartbeat. Doubt is how they enter. Another wave came. Not attacking. Echoing. Andrew saw himself again. But this time it wasn't shadow. It was memory. Zara laughing in the hall of a mentee. Liam rolling his eyes. Pretending he wasn't smiling. Seto watching. Proud and sad at once. The void twisted the memory. Zara faded into flame. Liam turned away, and Andrew was left alone. The light inside his chest flickered. He sagged forward, gasping. What if, the void whispered, you were always meant to lose them? Quote, a hand, warm, solid, real, closed over his shoulder. Seto's voice cut through the dark like a blade. You are Andrew Parker, he said. Not loud, but absolute. Guardian of the Jed Stone. Chosen of the light. You do not fall here. The Jed Stone ignited. Light didn't just shine. It remembered. The hall. The oath. Every life he had lived. Every time he had stood when it would have been easier to fall. Andrew lifted his hand beside Seto. Then neither do you. They moved together. Light erupted across the void. Not as fire. Not as heat. But as truth. The Voidborn shrieked as their stolen shapes unraveled into nothing. The ground, if it could be called that, cracked with light beneath their feet, and a path formed where none had been. A doorway shimmered ahead. Warmth bled through. Sand, wind, and far away, the sound of wings. Seto lowered the staff, eyes soft again. Well done, Andrew. Andrew swallowed, throat tight. That place. It wanted to keep us. Yes, Seto said quietly. And had you been alone? It might have. They stepped through the doorway. The void collapsed into nothing behind them. Chapter 4. The Dragon Master's Claim. The throne hall of the Serpent Realm burned with living light. Columns carved from black stone coiled upward like sleeping serpents. Their eyes flickering gold in the fireglow. High above, dragons circled in the heat-hazed sky, their roars echoing like thunder over distant mountains. Zara stood at the heart of it all. Small, human, trembling, but unbroken. The Dragon Master stepped from the shadows behind the throne. The fire greeted him like an old friend, bowing toward him, not burning him, wrapping him in a quiet, reverent glow. His eyes, molten gold, locked on hers. Liam, she whispered. The word cracked. Not angry, not pleading, just broken-hearted. His jaw tightened. A storm moved behind his eyes. Pain trying to surface. Memory pressing against locked doors. I do not know that name. You do, she said softly. You were my friend. You laughed. You fought beside me. You, quote. He cut her off. Not cruelly. Just. Afraid of the ache in his chest. I know only this. Fire rose behind him. Not roaring, but standing with him. He lifted his chin. His voice did not shake. I am the Dragon Master. The hall answered. 1,000 dragon hearts thundering in the distance. Zara swallowed, tears burning behind her eyes. That may be true, she said. But you are also Liam. You were loved. You still are. Something shattered inside him for half a heartbeat. A face. Her face. Flashed in the dark behind his mind. Then it was gone. He turned away, because it hurt too much to look at her and not understand why. The fire chose me, he said quietly. And the fire does not lie. A dragon master cannot stand alone. He looked back at her. You are meant to stand at my side. Zara's heart hammered. Then let me choose, she whispered. His brows knit. The dragon crystal, she said, voice trembling. Let me touch it. For a moment, the hall seemed to hold its breath. The crystal floated from its resting place. A star cut from the heart of a sun, drifting toward her hand like it remembered her. The fire did not flare. It bowed. Chapter 5. The Queen Awakens. Her fingertips brushed the surface, and the world fell away. Light swallowed her vision, not burning, embracing. She was a child again, laughing beneath a sky of molten gold. Dragons coiled above palace towers of obsidian and flame. Priests knelt as she passed, not in fear, but in devotion. A crown of living fire hovered above her brow, and a voice, warm and fierce as sunlight, whispered, Rise, Dragon Queen. Her breath caught. The vision shifted. She was small again, no more than 6. Running barefoot down a marble corridor lit with fire that floated like glowing birds. Outside, the sky wasn't blue. It was crimson, alive, streaked with dragons. A woman lifted her, laughing through tears. Her mother. Crown of flame, eyes of gold. You must stay hidden, little star, she whispered. They will come for the queen, but they must never find the child. The scene shattered. Now she stood in a tower of obsidian glass, high above a kingdom of fire. Coils wrapped the tower, not chains. A dragon, Vassarith, younger, unscarred, curled around the spire like a guardian carved from living night. Guard her, a voice commanded from memory. Guard her with your life, until the day the dragon star returns. And the dragon bowed its head. To her, another flash. A coronation hall of molten stone. 2 thrones stood side by side as priests knelt. Not to him, but to her. The vision faded, but the flame did not. It lived in her now. Her irises glowed, not red, but radiant gold, like molten sunrise. Her hair stirred in unseen currents. A faint crown of light shimmered above her. Not solid, but real all the same. The dragons outside roared, everyone, bowing as one realm. The dragon master stared at her, stunned, not understanding, but knowing, deep in his bones, that something ancient had just awakened. Zara drew a steady breath. No whisper this time. She claimed it. I am the Dragon Queen. The throne hall bent to her presence. Not in fear, in recognition. Far beyond the realm, the Jed Stone pulsed in Andrew's chest. Not with pain, but with awe, and somewhere in the quiet between worlds. Seto bowed his head. At last, he murmured. The Queen of Fire remembers. Chapter 6. The Weight of Crowns. The Serpent Realm did not sleep that night. Dragons circled the crimson skies in endless spirals, their roars rolling like thunder over mountains of obsidian and flame. Cities carved into cliff faces glowed with lantern fire as serpents and dragonkin gathered in silent awe. Word had spread faster than heat through dry grass. The queen had awakened. Inside the throne hall, the world was quiet again. The fires had dimmed to a low, reverent glow, as if unwilling to intrude on what remained. Zara stood alone for a moment beneath the vaulted ceiling. Not a prisoner, not a stranger, a queen. The faint golden light in her eyes had softened, but it was still there, like a sunrise that refused to fade. She pressed a hand against her chest, steadying her breath. It wasn't power she felt. It was belonging. Footsteps echoed behind her. The Dragon Master stopped a few paces away, not daring to come closer yet. The fire licked higher around him, as if unsure whether to bow or embrace. He studied her in silence. Not as a captor, not as a ruler, but as a man trying to understand why his heart hurt when he saw her, and why that pain felt sacred. You are changed, he said quietly. Zara turned, meeting his gaze without fear. No, she replied gently. I've only remembered what I already was. He swallowed. I felt it, he admitted. The realm bowed. The dragons answered. And my fire, quote, he hesitated, quote, recognized you. Their eyes held, not as lovers, not yet, but as halves of a crown finally finding each other. I told you, she said softly. I am not your prisoner. I am your equal. He didn't argue. He couldn't, because the fire inside him had already chosen. Far beyond the serpent realm. Andrew staggered, clutching his chest as the Jed Stone pulsed through him like a second heartbeat. Not pain. Not this time. Something closer to awe. The cave glowed faintly around him, light leaking from beneath his skin. Seto rested a calming hand on his shoulder. She has awakened, the old guardian whispered. Andrew didn't answer at first. He didn't trust his voice. When he finally spoke, it was soft, raw. So that's it, then. Seto's eyes were kind. Destiny rarely arrives with mercy, he said. But it always arrives with purpose. Andrew stared at the stone-lit floor. She was never meant to stay with me. No, Seto said gently. And that is not a failure. It is the highest calling of love. To release what was never truly yours to hold. Andrew closed his eyes. And breathed. Back in the serpent realm. The dragon master approached his throne. But he did not sit. He turned, facing her fully, as if instinct demanded respect. I do not remember my past, he said. I do not know the boy you call Liam. But I know this. Quote, the fire rose around him. Not raging, but standing at attention. I am the dragon master. And no dragon master may stand alone. Zara nodded. I know. Silence wrapped around them. Not cold, but fragile. Then tell me, he said softly. What does a dragon queen do? Quote, her answer was simple. And absolute. She does not rule the fire, Zara said. She teaches it mercy. Something in his chest loosened. Something that had been clenched since the day he lost himself. For the first time since claiming the crystal, the dragon master felt safe. Outside, the dragons roared again. Not in fear, not in war, but in welcome. And above the throne hall, the sky of the serpent realm shimmered with gold and crimson light. As prophecy shifted one step closer to fulfillment. Chapter 7. The Guardian's Burden. The world was quiet beneath the mountain. Only the slow drip of water and the soft, steady glow of the Jed Stone broke the darkness. Andrew sat with his back against the cavern wall, elbows on his knees, head bowed. The light inside his chest pulsed like a second heart. Not painful, just honest. He didn't need Seto to say the words aloud. He already knew. Footsteps echoed gently across the stone. Seto didn't speak at first, he simply lowered himself to the ground beside Andrew. Moving with the careful dignity of someone who had carried too many worlds for too many years. They sat like that for a while. Not guardian and master. Just two souls. Both tired. Both knowing what came next. Andrew finally broke the silence. I felt her, he said quietly. When she awakened. Yes, Seto replied. It wasn't like before, Andrew went on. It didn't burn. It didn't hurt. It was like watching the sunrise. Beautiful. And still. Quote, his voice caught. Quote, I knew she was leaving. Seto folded his hands in his lap. Awakening rarely brings comfort, he said softly. But it always brings truth. Andrew stared at the light beneath his skin. Then tell me the truth, he whispered. All of it. Seto didn't hesitate. Zara was never meant to remain in this realm, he said gently. She was never meant to walk beside you forever. Her path was always fire. Yours was always light. Andrew nodded once. Jaw tight. I know. He did. That didn't make it easier. But, Seto added, knowing does not diminish what you shared. Love is not measured by how tightly one clings, but by how freely one lets go. Andrew exhaled slowly. You think I'm strong enough for that? Quote, Seto smiled faintly. I know you are. The Jed Stone never chooses lightly. Silence returned, but it wasn't empty. It was full of memory, and pain, and gratitude for moments that would never come again. Then Andrew stood, not suddenly, not dramatically, just ready. His shoulders squared, his gaze steadied. The light in his chest no longer flickered. It flowed. Can we go see her? He said. Seto rose too, leaning slightly on the scepter of Isis. Though he never let age slow his dignity. Yes, he said, but not in anger. And not to take. We go to stand in truth. Andrew nodded. I don't want to fight him. I pray you won't have to, Seto said. But the Dragon Master is bound by prophecy. And by fear. If battle comes, it must be the last language you speak, not the first. Andrew almost smiled at that. Zara used to say something like that. Seto's eyes softened. She still will. They began preparing. The quiet, practiced rituals of journeying between realms. Seto traced shimmering symbols into the cavern floor, each mark thrumming in harmony with the Jed Stone's glow. Andrew watched the old guardian's hands. Steady. Certain. Seto? He asked. Yes? Quote. When this is over, what happens to you? Quote. Seto paused. Only for a breath. I rest, he said simply. Andrew swallowed. You've earned it. Seto placed a hand over Andrew's heart. Over the stone. So have you, he said gently. But not yet. The air shimmered. The cave dimmed. Reality thinned like silk pulled too tight. A rift began to open. Gold and white and endless. The Jed Stone singing like a star remembering its home. Andrew took one last breath of the world he knew. Then stepped forward. Not as a boy. Not as a man chasing love. But as a guardian walking into destiny. Seto followed. Cloak stirring in the light. Eyes full of quiet hope. Because beyond the veil waited a throne of flame, a queen reborn, a dragon master who still did not remember, and a choice that would cost Andrew everything. Yet for the first time since this began, he did not feel afraid. He felt ready. Chapter 8. The Breaking of Truth. The Serpent Realm breathed firelight across the sky. Crimson clouds drifting like wounded ghosts above a city of black stone and living flame. From the balcony of the Shadow Throne, the Dragon Master stood in silence, watching the burning horizon like a king carved from obsidian. Zara stood beside him, not bound, not caged, not harmed, but not free, either. Liam, she said softly, you don't have to keep pretending. His jaw tightened. I am not Liam. Her heart ached at the grief in his voice. He wasn't angry. Not yet. Just lost. I am the Dragon Master. This realm knows me. These dragons answer me. The crystal chose me. This. He placed a hand over his chest, where the dragon crystal pulsed like a second heart. Is who I am. And yet, Zara whispered, you still look at the stars like you're searching for something you lost. The words cut him. He looked away, far beyond the Serpent Mountains. A shimmering rift of soft golden light peeled open, gentle as a sunrise. Andrew stepped through, no longer just Andrew. His armor flowed around him in quiet radiance. The Jed Stone glowed in his chest with steady peace. Not a blaze of war now, but the deep, eternal light of a star that had always been there, waiting for him to remember. Seto followed behind, silent and solemn. Zara breathed out his name. Orion. Quote. Andrew's eyes closed for a heartbeat. He had known, but hearing it spoken settled the last piece into place. Yes, he said gently. I am. The serpent guard tensed, until the Dragon Master raised a hand. The serpents backed away like a tide obeying the moon. Why have you come? He asked. Voice controlled, kingly. Andrew stepped forward slowly, empty hands visible, like a brother approaching a brother who'd lost his way. To bring her home. Zara didn't move. Home? Liam repeated, and now the edge was there. Sharp and brittle. She is home. Not if her heart is divided, Andrew said softly. Silence stretched, trembling, dangerous. Seto watched the two young men with eyes that had seen ages. Zara swallowed. Please, she whispered. Listen, you are the Dragon Master. I won't take that from you. But your name, your first name, is Liam. You were our friend before the crown ever touched you. Something cracked, deep behind Liam's eyes. Not memory, not yet, but ache. I don't need a past, he whispered. I need my queen. The dragon crystal pulsed brighter. The Jed Stone answered, warm, sorrow-filled. Light and fire recognized each other. Destiny pulling threads tight. Andrew took one more step, and his voice changed. Calmer, older, certain. Liam, he said, I won't fight you. You may not have a choice, the Dragon Master replied, pain finally fracturing into anger. You would tear fate from my hands to keep her from me. I would let her choose, Andrew said. Zara closed her eyes. The truth cut all three of them. Wind howled through the throne spires. Dragons shifted restlessly above the clouds. Liam's hands curled, not into fists, but into fear he did not know how to hold. You will not stand between me and the things I love, he whispered. And now you must pay for that. I am the Dragon Master. You are nothing here. This is my world, my kingdom. And you, Andrew said gently, have always mistaken love for possession. You cannot possess love. The words struck like lightning. Red gold fire rippled down Liam's arms. I don't want to hurt you. I know. And I will not lose her. I know that, too. Light gathered in Andrew's palms. Not a weapon, just readiness. The Dragon Master inhaled, and Flame answered. The two chosen sons of two different destinies stood in silence for one last heartbeat. Then the world broke. Chapter 9. The Prism. I know you came for my queen, he said. But you will not take her. This ends now. Quote, Zara stepped between them. Please, she whispered, don't do this. But both men were already committed. Not out of hatred, out of destiny. The hall filled with thunder. The Dragon Master struck first. A storm of red gold fire crashing across the floor like a tidal wave. Andrew thrust the staff of Ra forward and a shield of light burst into existence. White-hot power roaring as flame slammed against it in a shower of sparks. Stone shattered. Dragons shrieked from the high arches above. Serpents scattered. Andrew slid back across the floor, boots grinding against black stone. Heat blistered the air. His pulse raced, the Jed Stone burning like a sun within his chest. Stop, Zara cried. Neither man heard her, because this wasn't a duel of blades. It was a collision of fate. Liam leapt, fire spiraling from his hands. The dragon crystal burning like molten heartblood. Andrew met him in the center of the hall. Light and flame collided. The shockwave flattened everything. Pillars cracked. The shadow throne split. The ceiling rained fragments of stone. And still they fought. Andrew struck, but only to disarm. Liam countered, but never to kill. Because somewhere inside, they still remembered, even if their hearts refused to admit it. Zara fell to her knees. Tears streamed down her face. Please, she whispered, you're hurting each other. And you don't even know why. Seto stepped forward. His voice was quiet, ancient, worn. This cannot be decided by fire or force, he said. Only by truth. And memory will understanding come. He raised the scepter of Isis and staff of Ra together. The air froze. Time itself seemed to hold its breath. By the circle of time, Seto whispered, and by the cosmic powers that be, let the dragon star remember. And all that was broken, be made whole. The dragon crystal answered first, blazing like a star. Then the Jed Stone ignited in Andrew's chest. A sun reborn. The shard of light, still bound to Seto's keeping, burned like the first dawn. 3 lights, 3 destinies, 1 fate. The beams converged. Fire turned to a glowing prism. Gold, white, and star silver braided together, weaving a bridge of living radiance that filled the hall, washing over dragons, serpents, stone and sky until nothing remained but light. And inside that light, memory returned. Liam screamed, not in pain, in recognition. He saw his mother's crown, his father's fire, his people, his vow. He saw the girl with fierce eyes. The girl who always spoke truth. The girl who now stood weeping before him. His queen. Not by force. Not by claim. By birthright. By destiny. Zara, he whispered. And she finally remembered her vows completely. Not just the battles. Not just the fear. But a tower of white stone. A dragon wrapped around it in eternal vigil. A child queen hidden away until the world was ready. Her true name. Her true purpose. Her fire. Andrew staggered, breath torn from his chest. Because in that same light, he remembered Orion, Master Guardian, bearer of the Jed Stone, chosen of the light, and at last, he understood what love was. Not possession, not claim, release. He closed his eyes and let her go. The light faded, silence settled, dragons bowed, serpents lowered their heads, and the Dragon Master, no longer lost, fell to one knee before Seto. I remember, he whispered. All of it. Seto placed a trembling hand upon his head. And now, he said gently, your reign truly begins. He turned to Andrew. And yours as well. Then, with a weary smile that held eternity behind it, he pressed the staff of Ra into Andrew's grasp. My last act, Seto said softly, was to bring the crystals together and lay down my crown. Andrew's throat tightened. Seto, quote, but the keeper of the circle of time only nodded. You were always meant to follow me, he said. And now, the circle turns. He raised his hands one final time, and the prism of light burned once more. Binding dragon, binding queen, binding guardian, binding destiny, forever. And the war was over. Not with death, not with conquest, but with truth. And the world, all worlds, breathed again. Epilogue. Keeper of the circle. The prism of light still shimmered in the air like a living sunrise. Every shard of the great crystals now one, singing in a harmony the cosmos had almost forgotten. Where light had once slept, it now breathed. The battlefield was silent. No serpents raised blades. No dragons roared. There was only the soft wind, the smell of ash fading into clean air, and three souls who finally remembered who they truly were. Liam stood at Zara's side. Not lost anymore. Not fractured. Whole. The dragon crystal glowed at his heart in gentle rhythm with hers. Twin flames sharing one crown. Zara, he whispered, and for the first time the name wasn't a reaching. It was a remembering. Her hand slipped into his. I know, she said softly. We were always meant to walk this path together. Above them, a great shadow circled once. Vassarith bowing his head in solemn recognition before wheeling back into the sky. Across the realm, dragons lifted their voices, not in war, but in pledge. Their king had returned, and their queen had risen beside him. But Andrew did not watch them with jealousy. He smiled. The Jed Stone shone in his chest, no longer a burden nor a mystery, but a steady, peaceful star. When he breathed, it felt like the world breathed with him. Seto approached slowly, robes stirring in the quiet wind, and for the first time in all the ages, he let his shoulders relax. You have done well, he said softly. Andrew, Orion, bowed his head. I didn't win anything, he answered. I let go. Seto's eyes warmed. That, he said, is why the light chose you. He turned then, gaze lingering over the horizon, where the realms of shadow and scale and starlight all seemed to meet at one bright point. My time as keeper of the circle has ended, he said at last. Not with sorrow, but peace. The wheel must turn. The light must learn new hands. Andrew swallowed. Are you sure? Quote. Seto smiled. The kind of smile worn by someone who has finally laid their armor down. I have walked longer roads than most. I have stood watch while ages died and were born again. And now, at last, The circle no longer needs me. The prism pulsed, and a doorway opened. Not a rip, not a tear, a golden circle of stillness and time. Beyond it lay the deep halls beneath the Great Pyramid, gleaming with quiet crystal light, and a silent chamber waiting like an open palm. Keeper of the circle of time, Seto said gently, bowing his head not as a master, but as a friend. Your place is here now. Andrew stepped forward. He wasn't afraid. He looked back one last time. Liam, no, the Dragon King, stood strong, crown of flame in his heart. Zara, Dragon Queen, stood beside him, eyes bright with memory and destiny. Take care of each other, Andrew said. We will, Zara whispered. Always, Liam added, voice steady, brotherly. Seto placed a hand on Andrew's shoulder. Sleep is not an ending, he said. It is a promise that when the light is needed again, you will wake. Andrew nodded. He stepped through the circle, down the ancient stairs of crystal, into the Chamber of Guardians. He stepped into the cryopod. He lay upon the waiting cradle of starlight, and as the cryofield closed softly around him, the Jed Stone glowed one last time like a lighthouse upon a dark shore. Then the chamber dimmed. Silence. Peace. For 5,000 years, the Keeper of Time would rest. And above the earth, life would go on. Dragons soared. Worlds healed. The prism of light whispered through creation again, once more reminding every realm that darkness could be turned back. For a while, all was well, all was still, all was light, but far beyond the edge of stars, in a place where light had never walked, something stirred, a shape without shape, a voice without breath, a hunger older than suns. It watched the prism's new glow spread through the cosmos, and recoiled, but did not flee. It listened, and then, deep in the hollow silence of the void, a single name rippled like frost across black glass. Nulgar, Lord of the Void, and he smiled where no mouth should be. Not yet, little light, not yet, but soon. The void remembers, and it does not forget. The end. The trilogy ends, but a new chapter begins.